Welcome to Chalk Talk, a weekly preview of West Tennessee football featuring the Jackson Sun sports team here on jacksonsun.com.
Hi everybody, welcome into jacksonsun.com for the first edition of Chalk Talk. My name is Craig Thomas. This is Sports Editor Brandon Shields, and with Chalk Talk we'll be previewing throughout the season the high school football and college football games to follow. This week is kind of the end of the off-season as we look toward the high school football Jamboree, kind of the 1 week of preseason before we get into the real thing. So we'll be kind of breaking down a few of the Jamborees going on in West Tennessee. We'll be covering 4 of them. They'll be at Southside, Huntingdon, Henry County, and Chester County. As we look at the Southside, the one that's going to be here in Jackson, we've got 4 pretty interesting matchups: JCM against USJ, Liberty against Dyer County, Northside against Trinity, and Southside against Jackson Christian. Brandon, what stands out to you from that bunch?
Well, probably the team that kind of stands out as far as something to watch this week is TCA, because I've said all offseason that I think that the Lions have the best backfield skill position players across the board in West Tennessee. The big question for them is their line. Kind of how are they going to do, because they lost most of their experience from last year. How are they going to go against a bigger line from Northside? So I'm sure Coach Blake Butler is trying to find out exactly how they're going to do in that situation before they get St. George's next week.
Small towns in West Tennessee are obviously really into football. Maybe nobody any more than at Huntingdon, a place with a long high school football tradition. They'll be hosting one of the Jamborees. The matchups there: West Carroll against Union City, McKenzie against Crockett County, Brewston Camden, and Huntingdon against Dyersburg. Well, what looks good there?
Well, first of all, in the Huntingdon Jamboree, it's going to have one of 2 matchups in West Tennessee Jamborees this year that generally are regular season matchups but aren't happening this year. One of them's at Huntingdon, Brewston versus Camden. They're not playing this year, so just seeing those 2 teams get to line up against each other one time this year, even if it doesn't count, they still get to do that. McKenzie and Crockett County. Crockett County's got elevated expectations this year just because they have so many starters coming back. McKenzie also has a lot of starters coming back, but it's off a team that only won 2 games last year. So both of them are kind of want to see exactly how good they are before their week 0 games, and hopefully they'll get some questions answered at Paul Ward Stadium.
Kind of as we head further north, we'll go look at the Henry County group. I know that's a group that you're excited to see kind of what happens there. It'll be Lexington versus Martin Westview, Henry County against Obion County, Milan Dresden, and then South Gibson versus Trenton Peabody.
I'll be honest, if I wasn't going to the one at Southside, this is probably the one that I would go to just because of the teams that are there. Westview, Lexington, Milan, Dresden, and South Gibson, but all 5 of those teams have something to prove going into the season. Westview probably has more experience coming back than the other 4, but they only won 3 games last year. So they're wanting to kind of get off to a good start, and while Coach Don Cody knows that there's nothing special about winning a Jamboree, it's got to do something for the confidence of the players if you're going to have a good performance against a team like Lexington. And then Lexington, Milan, Dresden, South Gibson, all 4 of those teams lost a lot off of teams that did well last year. So they're trying to get some new players get used to playing under the lights.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it's a lot of unknowns at that group, and I guess that's really what the Jamborees are all about with
Right.
a week ago before the season starts. And finally, south of town, the Chester County group: McNary versus Scotts Hill, Adamsville versus Humboldt, Fayette Ware versus Riverside, Chester County versus Hardin County. What do you think?
Well, Chester County and Hardin County, that's the other matchup that usually play in regular season that are not. They at least get to match up at a Jamboree, and they actually scrimmaged each other last week. McNary versus Scotts Hill, that's interesting just because Scotts Hill's first-year coach, Michael Strout, is a former McNary assistant who came over this past offseason. So, that could be something interesting to watch. Adamsville versus Humboldt, each team had a super senior in the series that were finishing in Friday's edition of the paper, the super seniors. Adamsville has Zach Neary, Humboldt has Nick McLilly. And both of them are come in with a lot of expectations. Adamsville's trying to get back to the state championship game. Humboldt felt they should have gone farther than what they did last year with as many starters as they got coming back. So, and if Humboldt was still 2A, I'd be talking about how this is probably a preview to a playoff game in Class 2A, but Humboldt dropped down, so it's just going to be some good football to watch. In addition to that, there is the skills competition, and fans will get to see, scheduled to see, Chester County's Trainer Cobb, otherwise known as Tootie, line up against McNary Central's Jarrett Mood for a 50-yard dash. Both of those guys have 4.40s. So don't blink, and because you may miss that one.
Yeah, something that people will be talking about probably after that thing's over. So definitely check out the Chalk Talk sessions we do throughout the year, and all the football coverage that's going to be coming your way, all the fall sports coverage, I should say, throughout the semester in the Jackson Sun and on JacksonSun.com. We're your source for sports in West Tennessee.